Good evening, my beautiful people. What's happening? What's happening? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the My Life, My Legacy, How to Leave a Six-Figure Inheritance for My Family or for Your Family and Favorite Charity. So again, welcome to this masterclass. This masterclass is actually being sponsored by Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. And it is through their generosity that we are able to offer this masterclass to you all completely free of charge. So Cindy's List and their team over there actually believes the same thing that I do, and that all knowledge should be free. I think each one should teach one, like the old saying goes, and I truly believe that if we have knowledge, we should pass that on not only to the next man, but to the next generation so that they can take it, tweak it, and make it better, right? So again, welcome to My Life, My Legacy, How to Leave a Six-Figure Inheritance for Your Family or Favorite Charity. So a little disclaimer though, if you're anything like me, then you actually believe that, you weren't born with a silver spoon, but you can make sure that your family eat off of silver plates, right? So in this exclusive masterclass, we are definitely looking for serious people, looking for those action takers that are really wanting to create that six-figure inheritance for their family or favorite charity. So it could get scary. You know what I mean? It can get intimidating, some of the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to explain it to you and give you the knowledge so that it's a little less scary or a little less intimidating. But ultimately, it's up to you, what you do with this information and how you take it. But we definitely want you to be serious about it. We definitely want you to take action. We definitely want your family to have that six-figure inheritance so that they're not starting over with the next generation. So if you are intimidated by prosperity, if you are scared of wealth, then this may not be the class for you. And it's okay, and it is definitely okay. Everything ain't for everybody. But if you are one of those people who weren't born with a silver spoon, but you want to make sure your family eats off of silver plates, then you are definitely in the right place. Get out your notepad, take some notes, write down your questions. We're gonna, we're gonna talk about some things. You know what I mean? So this is something that I've learned over the years, and it's definitely something that I believe in, and I think it would definitely change the trajectory. It'll change where we going, doggone it. So, but what we're headed though, we as a people, we have to come together as a community, and I think insurance is a good way to do that. So, our end goal is to create a reassure so that we're insuring our own people, we're insuring our own property, we're insuring our own inheritance and peace of mind. And once we're insuring our own, then we create power, we create assets, we create business, we can invest. So it's essentially taking their blueprint and using it for the benefit of our community. So that's why we're here. That's why we want to, give you this knowledge. So I am your host, the hostess with the ghostess, dead man's best friend. My mama called me Head, but you can call me Cecil. So I am Cecil Ivey. I'm the CEO of Cindy's List Funeral Concierge and Inheritance Protection. So we actually help you save the time, money, and emotional cost of planning for and purchasing a funeral. Life insurance and building that six-figure inheritance is actually a part of that. So in this exclusive masterclass, it's definitely interactive. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat box. We'll definitely get it answered for you. Well, while we're at it, man, just go ahead and drop your name and where you're from in the chat so that we know who we have the honor and privilege of talking to. So, drop your info. I would love to hear and see, what corners of the earth are we reaching with this information? So again, thank you for being here. So in this masterclass, we're actually going to try to sow into you, what we've learned over these years. I've been in the industry for a little while now, and I've picked up on some pretty valuable information, and we want to sow that into you. So how to strategically use those insurance products and solutions to actually fill specific financial voids. So a lot of people think that, you get one insurance policy and you're done. But you can have multiple insurance policies. And then those multiple insurance policies can be used for different things so that you maximize the death benefit to your family and thus leaving a six-figure inheritance. So not only will you learn how to leave a 4, 5, or six-figure inheritance for your family, but we're also going to show you the information to take that inheritance, put it in a nice box, wrap it up in a nice, pretty bow, and then hand it off to the next generation with very little resistance from the probate courts or from Uncle Sam from the bed. So, and I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean? Like, this is exciting for me, man. So welcome to Module 1. You know what I mean? Thank you all for coming again. So a little bit about me. So my story actually starts right around 2016. So in 2016, I was corporate. I was in corporate America. I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was about to hit the six-figure ceiling as far as my salary. I was a part of the committees, and I was a full-fledged corporate. But needless to say that things changed. Life happened, and I started going into a downward spiral. To be completely transparent and honest with you, I was headed down the wrong path. But 2016 was when it all started because I lost that corporate job. So after being there for many years, they decided to part ways, which, I truly believe everything happens for a reason. And if I hadn't got fired from that job, then I wouldn't be here today to share the information that I've learned after that. So in 2016, I lost my job. So shortly after losing my job, I actually started my first business that same year, 2016. My first business was actually an IT firm, essentially doing what I was doing at my corporate job, but helping small businesses do the same thing. We did all right, I guess. We didn't make a whole lot of money, but we did all right. I had a few contracts. The second company we started in 2017, though, was a construction firm. So right around this time, we had moved to Houston in 2017, and then Harvey hit. So if you're familiar with Harvey and the devastation that it caused to Houston and the surrounding areas, then it definitely affected a lot of lives as well as mine. So having a construction company in a flooded city wasn't really happening. And then fast forward a little after that, Granny died. So Harvey hurt, but Granny hurt. So when Granny passed, we were actually responsible for handling all of the funeral arrangements, everything. All the way down to what she should wear, what plaque, transportation, everything around preparing the funeral arrangements for Granny. So the funeral home did a wonderful job. I can't take anything away from the funeral home. However, once it was all said and done and we got that receipt of all the things that they had provided, we noticed that they had charged us $75 to put a wig on Granny. A wig that we provided, a wig that we had styled, a wig that, we took down to the funeral home. The only thing they literally had to do was put it on her head, and they charged us $75 for that. So there were a few other charges that were, a little, in my opinion, outrageous. But it was because of that moment and because of that wig that I became enamored with the funeral industry. I wanted to learn everything about the funeral industry because right is right, wrong is wrong. You know what I mean? So now I want to know how you do it. Now I want to know how it is that you get away with charging this for our family. So, I dove head first, face first. I'm all in the funeral game. So I even went so far as to volunteer my time at a local funeral home for several months just so I can learn the ins and outs of the industry. So I started researching ordinances. I started looking into the laws of the funeral home. So a few things. Embalming is optional. So embalming is actually a requirement of the funeral home. So there's no state law that says that you have to get your loved one embalmed. So that was a big one that I thought was an eye opener. You can purchase your own casket. You don't have to buy it from the funeral home. You can get it from Cindy's List Funeral Concierge. We have some of the lowest prices in the country. But there are several rules and regulations, federal regulations, that prohibit the funeral home from doing certain things that families can take advantage of. I mean, it's your right to take advantage of it. So, you know, after becoming obsessed with the funeral industry and, you know, going through the process with Granny, another loved one in our family passed away. So I was a lot more prepared this time. You know what I mean? I was ready this time. You know what I mean? I did spend time at the funeral home. I know the laws. And so we were actually able to help that family member save about $3,500 on the cost of that funeral. You know, from that family member, you know, we helped another family. You know, we save about 25 on that one. Then we have another family, and another family, and another family. So eventually we ended up saving, and we are still saving families. But so far, about $100,000 that we saved in funeral costs. You know what I mean? And it's truly a blessing to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Because I love helping people. I love providing and sharing my knowledge that I have. You know, it feels good. You know, in a selfish way almost. I love doing it because it makes me feel good. So, but through all of that, though, it hit me, and you know, there was this epiphany. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I've helped families with life insurance, and I've helped families without life insurance. So, you know, I've been through or helped families with the GoFundMe's and all that good stuff. But what I noticed is that a lot of the families that I helped, some had life insurance, some didn't, but nobody had the before or the after. You know, nobody had plans in place before they died, and nobody had anything in place for after their death. You know what I mean? So instead of having GoFundMe's for the funeral, in the case of the folks that didn't have insurance, not only do you not have the money to bury him, but you ain't got the money to make the rent. You ain't got the money, you know what I mean? So, and then the people with insurance, once the funeral home take 90% of the proceeds, you end up in the same situation where you're struggling to make the bills and pay the rent. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times the person that died is often the breadwinner. So, you know, I wanted to do something about it. I have to help our community. And, you know, being that I have this knowledge, I'm here giving it to you all, showing it to you all so that, you know, you can do the things that, you know, you need to do in order to leave a six-figure inheritance for your family or your favorite charity. So it's up to you and I to spread this information to our community. So that's me doing this now. So again, thank you for coming. Thank you for allowing me into your space. And thank you for wanting to get this knowledge. You're actually taking the first steps to leaving that six-figure inheritance for your family. So right on, and welcome again. Yeah, man. So the six-figure inheritance masterclass syllabus. So what are we going to talk about in this masterclass? So module 1, we're actually going to go into the four-figure inheritance. So in this module, we're actually going to show you how to put the funeral home on retainer. You know, we're going to, a couple other things, you know, show you how a couple case studies and, you know, some other information. And then we'll get into module 2, which is the five-figure inheritance and how your family can get the extras without any out-of-pocket expenses for your funeral. And then modules 3 and 4, we dive into the six-figure inheritance. So this is where it gets really fun. This is where it gets really interesting. So we'll show you how you can pay off your debts tax-free and how you can leave a legacy for your family or favorite charity. So module 5, once we have that six-figure inheritance, we're going to show you how to transfer that wealth and that inheritance to your family easily and legally. That in the form of your planning and estate planning document. So the bonus module for you guys, definitely wanted to throw that in there. I'll show you how to do it yourself. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff you don't need us for, but of course we want you to come to us. You know what I mean? Again, we have the knowledge and expertise to assist you. Now, mind you, I'm not a lawyer, but I have been through a lot, and I've learned a lot of information that allows me to point you in the right direction. So we'll show you the simple steps that you can take today for free in our bonus module. So thank you guys for sticking around. So let's get right into it, baby. So module 1, the 4-figure inheritance. So we're going to talk about how you can implement an EFP, which is your emergency funeral plan. We're going to show you how to put your the funeral home on retainer, and then we're going to show you a simple way, a simple way and a not so expensive way to add $50,000 to your inheritance for your family. We're going to show you a couple steps where you can do this all yourself. And of course, we're going to go into a couple case studies with Janet and Jessica Doe. So these two ladies, it just shows you, what it could look like in certain situations. So welcome to module 1, the 4-figure inheritance of the My Life, My Legacy 6-figure inheritance masterclass. So your emergency funeral plan, your EFP. So your EFP is actually in the form of a pre-need policy. So what is a pre-need policy? So a pre-need policy is you going to the funeral home. So I'm going to the funeral home and I'm saying, hey, Mr. Funeral Home, man, I want to pay for my funeral right now. You know what I mean? I want to set it up on a payment plan and I want to get it paid for so that my family doesn't have to worry about that and they have that peace of mind. I want to leave that inheritance to my family. So the funeral man says, okay, you want to pay for it now? All right, so what you want? So what we recommend is to actually request a direct cremation. So a direct cremation is exactly that. So when something happens to you, you die, they pick you up, they take you to the crematory, and then your ashes are sent to your family. There's no viewing, there's no extras there. They just literally pick up your body and, disposition it according to what you specify. Now, the other option is to have a direct cremation, but it is a little bit more expensive. But it's exactly the exact same thing. Whereas if you die, they pick you up, put you in a casket, take you to the cemetery. But it doesn't, a lot of times doesn't include your funeral expenses. So funeral homes really don't like putting things that they can't control in a pre-need policy. For example, like your catering, because they don't have a catering company. Your cemetery plot, they can't guarantee that your cemetery plot is going to be X amount of dollars. So they don't like to add it into the contract. But a pre-need policy is a contract between you and the funeral home to say that you, Mr. Funeral Home, are going to take care of my funeral when I die, and I'm going to go ahead and prepay it now. So when you're prepaid, they like prepaid legal. You know what I mean? When something happens, legal comes in, they help you prepay legal. So your lawyer or what prepaid legal does. But, different things that you can prepay, this is similar to that. This is essentially putting your funeral on layaway. You know what I mean? And once it's paid off, which is why we recommend it, because it's your emergency funeral plan. So if once it's paid off, if something happens, then you good. I mean, your family's straight. You know what I mean? You've already taken care of it. You already specified what funeral home you want. You already said you want a direct cremation, and you're good to go. So a direct cremation, we recommend getting a $1,000 policy, 4 figures. So that $1,000 policy or cremation or pre-need contract with the funeral home is usually enough to cover a direct cremation in most funeral homes. Now, mind you, the cost may vary by funeral home, but we actually partner with several funeral homes where the $1,000 is more than enough to take care of the direct cremation. Again, if you want a direct burial, it's going to cost a little more, and thus it'll still be 4 figures, but you know it's going to be about $5,000 pretty much, 4, 4, 3, 4. So cremation with the so you're looking at $5,000. Let's just say $5,000 for a direct burial. Or a standard funeral. A direct cremation actually includes some of the items you see here. The services of the funeral director and staff. So this is the funeral director coming to work to take care of your situation, your body, and all that good stuff. So the transfer remains to the funeral home. So if you die in the hospital, they'll pick you up from the hospital, or they'll pick you up from the morgue or the medical examiner, wherever it is that you're at, and bring you down to the funeral home. They'll refrigerate your body at 32 degrees Fahrenheit so that you maintain a good temperature. So they say black don't crack, but black get cold. Though I but they'll maintain their refrigeration for you. So again, like we talked about earlier, embalming is optional, really. So and it's usually only if you want to have a viewing. If you're not having a viewing, then you wouldn't do that in the first place. But in our case, and what we recommend is a direct cremation, which you don't require embalming. So just do refrigeration. A lot of times they will provide you with a temporary urn. If you would like to upgrade the urn, definitely reach out to Cindy's List Funeral Concierge. We have some beautiful urns for a reasonable price and quality. So in addition to your urn, there's a cremation fee. So a lot of times the funeral homes are actually contracting the services to a crematory. There are some funeral homes that have a crematory on site that they own, but in most cases they just contract it out, which technically your family could also do this for you as well without having to go through the funeral home. But having your emergency funeral plan and the pre-need contract through a funeral home in your local area is going to save them some time and some emotion with dealing with your funeral. So we take a look down at the bottom here, we can see this is a funeral home in Houston that we actually use often. So their direct cremation service is $850. So if you have $850, you can pay for your funeral right now, and it'll be paid for the rest of your life. Yeah, I mean, like, that's it. Yeah, I mean, if you want a cremation with a memorial service, about $1,500. Cremation with a viewing, $3,300, and a standard funeral service, which includes your embalming, your casket, your dressing, your bathing, and all that good stuff. But it does not include the cemetery cost. So it doesn't include your headstone. It doesn't include your burial plot or any of that good stuff. So you can have your pre-need contract for any one of these. You can have an $850 pre-need contract. You can have a $3,300 pre-need contract because you want a cremation with a viewing. But we recommend starting with something simple, something that's doable, something that you can pay off within the next 6 months. If you don't pay it off within the next 6 months, then you have to pay it off, after the first year. So putting your funeral home on retainer is what you're doing when you're taking out a pre-need policy. So when you take out that pre-need policy and the funeral home says, okay, I got you, you want a direct cremation. All right, I'm gonna write up this contract. This is what you're gonna get. What the funeral home then is gonna do is take your premiums, however much you're paying per month, whether you pay one single payment. If you paid all up front, you actually may get the $850 direct cremation for $800 because you're paying it all up front, so they're gonna give you a discount. But what they're gonna do is take that money that you pay, and they're gonna do one of two things. So the first thing that they can do is actually take your premiums and create a trust account. So a trust account is essentially, it's like a savings account, essentially. So they're taking your money, putting it into a savings account where it's gaining interest. And when you die, they just withdraw it from that savings account and pay for the services that you requested. The other thing that they could do with the money that you purchase your pre-need contract with is actually get an insurance policy on you in the amount of the pre-need contract. In this case, $1,000. So they would go out, get an insurance policy on you for $1,000, and the funeral home would be the beneficiary of that insurance policy, right? So either way, you're going to end up with the same result. The funeral home is going to take care of your direct cremation or your standard funeral. But it gives you the opportunity of paying it off in 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, or 10 years. So you can take that $1,000 and spread it out across 10 years if you like. But the longer that you stretch it out, the more you're going to pay in interest. So we definitely recommend not going more than 5 years, really, but 6 months if you can. If you can pay it off within 6 months, definitely do it before the 6 month mark. If you don't pay it off within that 6 month mark, then you actually have to wait until after the 1 year mark before you can actually pay it off. Or if you pick a 3 year plan, then you pay it off 3 years and so forth and so forth. So again, the longer you pay, the more interest that you're going to pay to the funeral home. So now, a lot of times, the pre-need contract that you create with the funeral home is actually transferable to any funeral home across the country. So say you're in New Orleans and you set up a pre-need contract with a funeral home and Katrina wiped it out, the funeral home no longer exists. Well, you can get it set up so that pre-need funeral contract is transferable to other funeral homes. So one caveat with transferring your pre-need policy to another funeral home is that the new funeral home that receives that policy may or may not honor that price. So in Louisiana, you got it for $1,000, but once you get to Houston, then the funeral home in your area in Houston may charge you $1,200. So you would actually have to come up with that additional $200, or your family would have to come up with that additional $200. But it's definitely a lot better than coming up with $1,200, right? So they'll still get the $1,000 from your original pre-need contract. You just have to pay the difference. A lot of times there is not a lot of difference, and a lot of times the funeral home will work with the family to accept what it is that the previous funeral home specified in their contract in most cases, but they're not obligated to, so keep that in mind. So a simple way that you can add $50,000 to your pre-need policy. So right now we're in the 4-figure mark. So we just created a pre-need contract with the funeral home in our local area for $1,000, 4 figures. That $1,000 is 4 figures that your family does not have to come out of their pocket to make sure that your funeral is taken care of. That 4 figures is actually being inherited by your family, not only by paying for it, but with peace of mind, knowing that everything is taken care of already, that mom's already took care of it, or pops already took care of it. So having that peace of mind is definitely more valuable than $1,000. I would pay more than $1,000 for peace of mind, right? So we've created this 4-figure inheritance for your family. They don't have to worry about your funeral. An easy way to add an additional $50,000 onto that is to simply add an accidental death policy. Now, the accidental death policy is only going to cover you with an accident. So another thing is that the accidental death policy is only going to cover you up to age 70 for some insurance carriers and up to age 80 for other insurance carriers, depending on which one we go with. But having that additional accidental death policy, not only is it the least expensive, so you could get a $50,000 accidental death policy for like $7 or something like that. So it's pretty cheap. You know what I mean? But you have that added benefit, or that added protection, or that added inheritance for your family if you were to die by accident. So the reason that it's so not as expensive as let's say a whole life policy or a term policy for that matter, is that the insurance companies know that you are more likely to die from from heart disease or cancer than you are by an accident. So in a car accident, you have a 1 in 114 chance of dying in a car accident, where you have a 1 in 160,000 chance of dying by a lightning strike. So because they know their odds, they're willing to give you a $50,000 policy for $7 because you probably gonna die from, from something natural or something health related. So essentially with life insurance, all right, check it out. So with life insurance, you are betting with the insurance company. You are making a bet with the insurance company. So you are either you go into the insurance, man, I bet you I die within the next 30 years. The insurance like, you think you're gonna die now? I don't think you're gonna die in the next 30 years because I know folks like you and they don't die within the next 30 years. So I bet you don't die in the next 30 years. So term policy, you know what I mean? So a term policy, you can get up to a 30-year term and you are betting with the insurance company that I'm gonna die in the next 30 years. Most people actually live to 84 for men, 86 for women is the average age that people die. So they know based on their odds, they have a pretty good chance of winning that bet. With a whole life policy, you're actually betting with the insurance company that, man, all the people in my family live to 110. I'm gonna be up here for 110. So the insurance company like, okay, well, people usually die about 84 to 86, but you think you're gonna live to 110? I take that bet, but I'm gonna have to charge you a little bit more because I'm gonna be paying you, you know what I mean? Because if you live to that bet, I gotta pay you, you know what I mean? So I bet you, but I'm gonna charge you a little bit more for that bet, all right? So you're betting against the insurance companies, and insurance companies don't like to pay. They're in the business of making money. But if we can create and use this strategy, how to create or how to build a six-figure inheritance for your family or a favorite charity. In this masterclass, we teach you how to essentially hedge your bets, right? So we're going to show you how to strategically place certain insurance policies in certain places so that regardless of when you go, your family is going to inherit something. You know what I mean? Whether it's 4, 5, or 6 figures. So, you know what I mean? However we set it up, but they are going to get something. So, again, you don't have to get just one insurance policy and be done. So that's what we want to show you. So with the accidental death policy, going back to that, you have to die by an accident. But here's the catch. There are certain things that are excluded. So if you died by an accident and you were committing a crime, they ain't gonna pay you. If you died by an accident and you were intoxicated, say you were in a car wreck and you were drinking and driving, they won't pay. If you are skydiving, they will not pay. If you are racing somebody on the street, they will not pay you. You know what I mean? So, but some of the things that they will pay for, again, a car accident, a drowning, you know what I mean? So if you were shot and killed and it was deemed to be an accident, actually, murder is technically considered an accident because it's a firearm discharge. So as long as the person that discharged the firearm didn't do it intentionally, then, it was an accident. You know what I mean? It was an accident. But do keep in mind, so the real life, we actually had a family go through this, and it hurt my heart, but essentially, and actually, we've seen it with the Sweetie Pie guy. I don't know if y'all heard about it. So Sweetie Pie's son got a $400,000 life insurance policy on his nephew and then had him killed. So in that case, the beneficiary would not receive anything because they had something to do with that death. So they wouldn't get paid. If you are in space or, if you are traveling by an airplane and the airplane go down, not only would your family get the $50,000, but it'll probably be double or triple because you're in a common carrier. So if you get hit by a bus, if you die in an airplane, then that $50,000 just became $100,000 automatically. So definitely a good benefit to have, and it's very, very less expensive than any other insurance policy that's available out there. And it usually covers you up to about age 70 or 80, depending on the insurance carrier that we go with. So quick, just add a quick zero on there real quick. You know what I mean? So how can you do this yourself? So how can you set up your own pre-need contract so that your family doesn't have to worry about it and they inherit those 4 figures that you set up so that they don't have to come out of their pocket? So number one of the websites that you can go to, and there are several websites, that give you a general idea of the pricing of the funeral homes in your area. So one of them here is called Parting. So you go to parting.com, you type in your zip code, and you find a funeral home in your area, and you can see a general price list of how much they charge. So a lot of times they're not on the money. So call the funeral home that's in your area. Just call them and ask them for a copy of their GPL, their general price list. So their general price list is essentially their menu of items that they provide for families. Once you have your menu, you look over the menu, the GPL, you find out what it is that you want. Like, okay, so I want a direct cremation, which is what we recommend. But if you want a direct burial, if you want a funeral, whatever it is that you want, pick it off of the GPL and make note of it. Once you know what you want and the services that you want, call the funeral home back and ask to speak to their pre-need department. So their pre-need department is actually going to walk you through creating your prepaid funeral benefits contract, and creating your statement of goods and services. So if you've ever been through the process of arranging a funeral for somebody, it's the exact same process. Okay, do you want to be buried and cremated? What would you like to include? You know what I mean? But because you got their GPL, you already know what you want, so it'd be a lot faster. So once you set up the appointment with the pre-need department, you fill out the benefits contract, and you verify that the benefits contract matches the statement of goods and services for your wishes. Make sure they match. Because this is what the funeral home is going to be obligated to provide for your family should something happen to you or when you die. So definitely make sure that the contract is in order and matches exactly what it is that you want. So it's pretty easy. I mean, if you have the wherewithal to go ahead and do this yourself, by all means, go for it. You know what I mean? But having that knowledge and having that understanding of where to start, we definitely wanted to, provide you with those tools and resources so that you at least know where to start, so that you know how to leave that 6-figure inheritance for your family, your favorite charity. So again, go to Parton, type in your zip code, find a funeral home, ask the funeral home for their GPL, look over the GPL, find out what services you want, call the funeral home back and speak with their pre-need department and set it up with the pre-need department with the services that you have and with the services that you want. Sign a contract and your funeral is taken care of. Now, again, you can pay for it in one lump sum payment and be done with it, or you can stretch it out up to 10 years, whatever's convenient for you, whatever is good for you and your family. But again, that inheritance is something that your family will receive. So let's take a couple looks at a couple case studies. So Janet Doe. So Janet is 35 years old. She's got 2 kids. She good people. She good people. She at the time, she was working, at a pretty decent job. She wasn't rich, but she was making pretty good money. But like most people in America, she was still living paycheck to paycheck. But then after so long on her job, Janet Doe gets laid off because COVID came through. So a lot of people actually have insurance on their jobs thinking that, I got insurance on my job. But in actuality, you are written that insurance. That is not your insurance. That's that job's insurance. So if you were to separate from your job, then you would not have that insurance. And then they do offer you the option of continuing that insurance, but it'll be so expensive that you couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? So it's always, always beneficial to have your own insurance policy outside of your job, because you never know when you're gonna leave, when you're gonna quit, when you're gonna fire or get fired, or when COVID is gonna swing through and now you've been laid off. So Janet has 2 kids. Let's say one is 5, one's 12. So Janet has been doing DoorDash since being laid off, and on the way to make a delivery, she's in a car accident and dies. Now, Janet did not go through this master class. Janet did not reach out to Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. Janet did not reach out to Cindy's List Funeral Concierge. She didn't create any of her documents or estate planning, so she didn't have her will. You know, she didn't have a power of attorney. She didn't have a body disposition. She didn't have an EFP, an emergency funeral plan with the local funeral home in her area. So Janet didn't have anything. So what ended up happening, because Janet is a single child and the only child, and her parents are deceased, and there's really nobody in her family that she's aware of that has the capacity or that can take care of her kids. So what ended up happening is, because she didn't have a will, her kids ended up in foster care. So your will is important to specify, you know, how you're gonna divvy up your assets. But one of the most important things that a will does is designate who's gonna take care of your kids. So when you have, you know, godparents, your will is where you will specify who the godparents are and who's gonna take care of your kids after you're gone. So Janet also didn't have a power of attorney. So your power of attorney gives the power to somebody to manage your assets, your bank accounts, your bills. You know, you're giving them the power to act on your behalf while you're gone. So because she didn't give that power to anybody, now her assets are lost. I mean, now they're stuck in court or in probate, or, you know, subject to creditors, and, you know, there's a lot of other things that could happen because of not taking those estate planning tips seriously. And because she didn't have an emergency funeral plan, we ended up having to do a GoFundMe for Janet. So how much did it cost for Janet to implement any of this? $0, because she didn't do it. So it didn't cost anything, but we see the outcome of not doing anything. You know, there's not a chance that your kids may end up in foster care. There's a chance that you lose your assets. And of course, we know the inevitable GoFundMe and fish fries, and, you know, so we see it in our community all the time. So having that EFP, or having the knowledge by going through the 6-figure inheritance masterclass, or, you know, reaching out to Cindy's List Funeral Concierge, or reaching out to, you know, Cindy's List Inheritance Protection could have saved Janet, you know, some time, money, and emotional cost for her 2 kids. But let's take a look at her cousin. Now that's her sister. Let's take a look at her sister. This is her sister. So they twins. You know? So Jessica Doe. So Jessica Doe, you know, she's 35 years old. You know, she made pretty good money too, but, you know, just like Janet, she's still living paycheck to paycheck. You know, she has 2 kids as well, one 7, one 15. And so Jessica was on her way to the hair care product store, and, you know, it was wet outside, raining, and she had a car accident, hit a pole, and died. Well, Jessica, you know, took the time to go through the 6-figure inheritance masterclass and reached out to, you know, Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. So she had her EFP, she had her emergency funeral plan, and she wanted to add an additional $50,000 to her inheritance for her kids. So she added the accidental death policy as well. So when Jessica died, because she went through Cindy's List Inheritance Protection and went through this masterclass, she knew that she had to get her will together. She had to get her house in order. So, you know, she created her will and said that John and Tiffany is the godparents of her kids are gonna be responsible for taking care of her children. So she specified that in her will. Not only that, she reached out to John and the kids' godparents to make sure that they even wanted the job and they accepted it. So very important that, not only let your family know that you are creating this will, but also let them know or ask them if they want the job. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't want to take care of your kid. Maybe your kid's bad. Maybe they don't want to take care of your kid. So, make sure that they actually want the job. So Jessica, she completed her will. She assigned the godparents, Jim and Lisa, as the godparents for her kids. So her will is done. She also specified in her power of attorney that Jim and Lisa would be or have the power of attorney because she could trust them. She know they're gonna do right by her kids. They good Christian God-fearing people, so she know they're gonna do right by her kids. So not only did she specify that they're gonna be responsible for her kids in her will, she also specified them as having the power to control her assets and to act on her behalf while she's gone. So her kids are going to be able to access her bank account now because Jim can go to Jessica's bank account, take some money out, and make sure the kids got school supplies, you know what I mean, or whatever it is that they need. And because Jessica, again, created her emergency funeral plan, she left that four-figure inheritance for her family so that the kids don't have to worry about anything. So Jessica actually got the plan when she was 30 years old, and she set it up on a 5-year plan. So now that she's 35, her plan is paid off. She's not paying anymore, but the funeral home is going to pick her up. They're going to cremate her and provide the ashes to her family. So paid for, that peace of mind. Kids don't have to worry about anything. Jim and Lisa don't have to worry about anything because Jessica already took care of it. And because she added that additional accidental death policy and she died by an accident and she wasn't intoxicated and she wasn't racing or anything, then that accidental death policy is going to kick in, and now her 2 kids have $50,000 to, get through life. You know what I mean? And that Lisa and Jim can now use that money to take care of the kids that they are now responsible for. So Jessica took those steps and made sure that they, that they were good. And so $50,000 for them, to be raised on. It's not much, but it's something that can get them. I mean, that's what I wish I had $50,000 right now, but it's good. It's enough for them to, live. You know what I mean? If Jessica made $50,000 for the year, then that just paid for the whole rest of the year's bills, rent, car note, and everything. You know what I mean? Or since Jim and Lisa are taking care of the kids, then they don't need the $50,000. But they'll save it for the kids when they get older. When they turn 18, they get $25,000 a piece. So however you want to do it, however you want to leave your inheritance to your family or favorite charity is definitely up to you. This is your life. This is your legacy. This is your opportunity to provide that for your family. So how much did it cost Jessica Doe to implement this? $25.49. So you got to remember, since Jessica set it up on a 5-year policy, her 5-year $1,000 pre-need policy would cost her $18 a month. So, which is why we recommend, paying it off within the first 6 months. So I already set it up for 5 years, but try to pay it off within the first 6 months. But you got to remember, after that 5 years, she's not paying anything anymore. You know what I mean? So if she had died at 40 instead of 35, then she would have been paying $7.53 from 35 to 40 when she died. You know what I mean? Because her pre-need, her emergency funeral plan is paid off in full on that 5th year. So that $25.49 drops to $7.53. You know what I mean? So it's definitely beneficial to have your emergency funeral plan. Again, you're leaving those 4 figures for your family in the form of a pre-need policy, taking care of your funeral so that they don't have to worry about it, because if you don't do it, they're gonna have to come out of that $1,000. So whether it's your money through your inheritance that you're leaving behind for your family, or out of their pockets. And so again, 4-figure inheritance module 1. Again, if you have any questions, you know, if I touched on some things, if there's some things that you're really not clear about, if you'd like to know more information about any of the things that we talked about, you know, definitely reach out to us. You can give us a call at the office at 724-624-9297, or you can reach me directly at 832-443-6123. You can email us at info@cindy'slistllc.com, or you can email us at 6figures@cindy'slistllc.com. If you'd like to get started, you know, implementing your emergency funeral plan today, please reach out to us. You know, we've been happy to help you. We would be honored to help you. Definitely looking forward to, you know, providing information and the knowledge and, you know, that I have and so on to you. Definitely go out to Facebook, go to the 6-Figure Inheritance Masterclass group and join the group to stay abreast of everything and when the next module will be released. We're going to try and get them released every Sunday, you know, about the next 6 weeks. So, you know, breaking it up. So again, we're going to step you. Maybe you're not ready for 6. We'll start with 4, then 5, then 6. So that, you know, you can take actionable, practical steps, and it's doable by everybody. So we saw Jessica was paying, what, $26 a month, you know what I mean, and her family straight. Don't have to worry about, you know, paying for her funeral, and they got an additional $50,000 because she died of an accident. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for, you know, allowing me into your space and joining us for the 6-Figure Inheritance Masterclass. It's your life, it's your legacy. What will you do with it? So again, you don't have to come from money to leave money. And you don't have to be born with a silver spoon to make sure your kids and your family can eat off of silver plates. I shouldn't care about your family more than you do, which I'm sure I don't. I'm sure you love your family very much, which is why you're actually in this class, this master class, so that you can learn how to leave the inheritance for your family. So join us for module 2. Where we talk about how to get the extras without any out-of-pocket expense for your family. So that's going to be interesting. Definitely looking forward to that. And again, thank you all for tuning in. I am Cecil Ivey, CEO of Cindy's List Funeral Concierge and Inheritance Protection. This 6-Figure Inheritance Masterclass is brought to you by Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. Go ahead out to their website at www.cindy'slistllc.com. I love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And we'll see you all next week for Module 2 of the 6-Figure Inheritance Masterclass. Talk to you soon.